Hi, my name's Rowena Packer. I'm a research fellow at the Royal Veterinary College in London. My background is in animal behaviour and welfare. My main research interest is inherited diseases in dogs, and the majority of my time is spent studying epilepsy and abnormal disease, which is mainly what we'll be talking about today. So our interest in this study is trying to find parallels between epilepsy in people and epilepsy in dogs, both from a comparative health perspective, so dogs are a really close model of epilepsy in humans, but also from the dog's perspective. I have been going to human epilepsy conferences for quite a few years now, and every year I find out something new about human epilepsy. We come back, we try and see if we find it in dogs, and lo and behold, over and over again, we're finding the same things. So it's increasingly recognised in people with epilepsy that cognitive impairments, both really mild through to really severe, are incredibly common in the population of children and adults with epilepsy. So as a person who studies epilepsy in dogs and meets lots of owners, we start to talk with owners about what they observed in their dogs. And obviously we wanted to build on that anecdote with a proper experimental study to observe whether dogs with epilepsy show greater signs of cognitive impairment than those of the same breed that don't. So we did this by carrying out a pretty large-scale epidemiological study. I love stats. I know not everybody does, but big numbers mean we can pull out different effects that we might not be able to see on day-to-day life. So I went about putting together this study. It was called the Mature Dog Study. So it was looking at mature dogs. So these are dogs that are 3 years and older through to geriatric years, through to very old age. And my interest was looking at how signs of cognitive dysfunction appear throughout the lifespan of dogs, so both dogs with and without epilepsy, and whether these signs were more common in dogs with epilepsy, but also what kind of signs were there and when did they appear throughout the lifespan. I think a takeaway message for vets and dog trainers out there would hopefully be a positive one, although we've obviously found an impairment in these dogs. If we look to human medicine for some inspiration here, we can see that some cognitive impairments in people with epilepsy are reversible, or at least can be reduced to a reasonable extent. And as we've seen here, not so they're preventable because this was a cross-sectional study, but the risk of them could be reduced by our own intervention. And again, this study only looked at training, simple day-to-day training activities that many owners are already doing or should be encouraged to do with their dogs. So I think that's a really good starting point, that there's practical things that owners can be doing to keep boosting their dogs' brains. And in the future, other therapies, so things like dietary therapy, not just straight up pharmaceutical therapies, could also be something to explore with clients to see whether there's ways to improve these dogs' quality of life. And to not just, I think, accept these problems as being part and parcel of either old age or epilepsy, but to be proactive and see if there's things that we can do to try and reduce the burden on the dogs.